So, Spyros, good morning.
Good morning,
Ciao.
buongiorno. It's a
Buongiorno.
beautiful day.
Yes, it is indeed. It's a very hot and sunny day here in Milan. What about you?
We're in the middle of a heat wave, so I think hot doesn't even begin to calc it. But it's summer, right? Just go to the beach,
Yeah,
swim, and enjoy life. Yeah.
yeah,
So
you're so lucky. Because Spyros Bofylatos is from University of Aegean. Thank you, Spyros, for joining us. The second edition of 24 hours worldwide design conversation. And it's a pleasure to have you here.
thanks.
Spyros speaks now from Greece, but he's also lecturer in many countries all over the world and in many universities, from Delhi, India, to Ohio in the USA, to Berlin, and many other countries in Europe. And so teaching, design teaching and education, I know that is a very a topic that is you're very focused on. I mean, you're also, of course, a researcher, a design researcher, but today I think we're going to focus on your experiences in teaching in the last year, starting from the pandemic experience. And looking at the statements you provided for this second edition of the 24 hours conversations, you pretty focused on the idea of sailing in a sea of uncertainty as a condition that makes you feel like you have no coordinates at all, no coordinates for looking back to the port you come from, and no coordinates to looking at the future and to the port you can look forward to. What about this condition of uncertainty?
Uh, it's been a year. It's been a year and a half, and it's been a pretty weird year, I would say. I think for everybody. Just for a bit of context, in Greece, universities closed around February of 2019, and we're still doing things digitally because, especially here, we're on a small island and it's isolated. So it's quite important to make sure that we keep the local population as well as ourselves safe. So the past 3 semesters almost have been fully online digital, and for me I would say the biggest part of it is that especially in the design studio, which is a central piece of design education, we have really been leaning on the embodied aspect of teaching, the togetherness. It's not it's the social, but it's also our bodies and our minds working together to achieve something. And I feel like this was the most important aspect that was lost in this pandemic in general, not just education, but I think in design education, due to the practical nature of the design studio, um, it was um, it was a big challenge. And I think that this idea and thinking about sustainability as well, and the transition towards sustainability and the carbon neutral futures and everything else in between, because it's not just this eco-modernist idea of making it less bad for the environment, but it's about thinking about our values and the way society has been created, and if that works today. And in a way, for example, we could frame COVID as an emergent property of this era. Having a lot of animals in wet markets, or urbanization or globalization, how much we travel. So I think this idea, for me, it's really scary, but that kind of comes with any project that is worthwhile, because I think the biggest issue is that we have to accept that this model is not really working as well as we'd like to, and given that, we have to come up with a new model. We're designers; that's what we do, right? So I think that's the idea, that like the explorers of old, and I think explorers is a word that we're not supposed to use anymore. We need to decolonize that as well, as people with interests. It's risky, but that's the project's worth doing. It's risky to think about how it could be. It's nice to have these discussions with other people about how we would like it to be, and we can explore it and find it, and eventually, at some point, have something meaningful and beautiful and empathetic, and yeah, I don't think that most people are kind of content with the world that we're living in. So, we can change it. And as designers, I think that's what we do. We change things. We design new utopias. And yeah, I'm kind of bored at this point of more dystopias. So I think that it's good to go out and design new utopias, because that's what we need. We need hope right now.
Yeah, you're right. So empathy is ecological per se, we might say. But at that point, it seems that empathy and togetherness are the new utopia. So how we did that? Which are the, for example, the inventions, the solutions, the trials you had during the last year for getting back empathy and togetherness?
That's actually a great question. Thank you. I think the biggest part was that I think in all my teaching practice, and I have to acknowledge as well my beautiful and amazing collaborators that I've been working with in the different design studios I teach, because I'm also a part of a a service design studio and a product design studio. Um, I think that there were days this year and a half that most of my work was not education, but it was empathizing, it was mentoring, and it was kind of supporting my students, who we're all going through this experience, and I don't think anyone wanted to go through this experience. So part of it was trying to navigate and understand and make some sense of what's going on, and in a very human way, the human paradox in general. It was somehow you know the 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 space between us, the physical distancing in order to protect each other and ourselves, brought us more together in a sense, because this experience, this trauma, in many ways, is a third one, is one that we've all gone through, and it's been different for everybody, but at the same time, it's been similar. So I think that it's a really good basis for us to empathize, and it's actually kind of beautiful that it works this way, with Giordano's talk about the others, because I think in this quest for empathy, we kind of focused on the others, and our design project last semester was about others. It was about the microbes that we coexist with, we collaborate with. That's how we framed it. Our as sorry as our fermenting collaborators. So we tried to kind of explore and cultivate this empathy, because I think that if we were to keep only one thing from this experience, I think that this togetherness, conviviality, empathy, um, this idea to protect each other. I think that it's a big lesson that can help us move in leaps and bounds beyond what we would consider. It's kind of, I think this is an opportunity to move the horizon of what we consider a radical change much further away, because this year and a half has been radically changed. Nobody would expect that the state would tell me, how to manage my body, the vehicle, kind of moving my mind, or whatever you frame it, and I would actually be okay with that, which is kind of crazy to think about. So you know the impossible is possible. Let's think about that, and that's not a Nike ad. So let's move further into the impossible, and let's get into, I'm Greek, you're Italian, you can probably understand. Let's move into, these dialogues, these fights around probably some kind of food and drink, about what the next impossible should be. Let's imagine this impossible utopia. And for me, it's an empathic civilization. It's empathic, not just towards humans, but empathic in general.
Yeah, you're right. And which kind of approach do your students had for dealing with these other species you were collaborating for during the project?
I think that early on we kind of tried to get them to adopt a different kind of collaborator, because our like typology was essentially bread, cheese, and alcohol. So those tiny little microbes that work with us, they're kind of amazing. They're, you know, parts of civilizations are based on them. Probably some of the best parts of civilization. Um, so we wanted it to be very much um, based on experience. So they all had to adopt and grow their own, either the starter, for bread, which I think it's something like, we're trendy, right? We're designers, we enjoy being trendy. We saw everybody doing it during the first lockdown, and sharing their starters,
Indeed.
and um, we had them to adopt those beautiful beings. Some of them, most of them, died in the process, but that's part of learning. And we really wanted to make it grounded to experience, to make it hands-on. And I think that was also a challenge, because it's a collaborative project. It's 5 students working together, and those students were also kind of scattered around the country and separated. So it was a big challenge to balance. I think the balance between our wants as educators and the quality of projects that we want to produce in a design studio, and what we want to see, and what we expect from our students, and managing, the emotional and practical implications of hopefully once in a lifetime pandemic, where it's impossible to collaborate. And I think that's digitizing a design studio is huge challenge. I'm really looking forward to going back to a physical design studio and working, but the genie is kind of out of the bottle, so we'll see what happens with that as well. But at the same time, it's not all terrible. You mentioned that I've been doing a lot of international lecturing or workshops or whatever. I think that in a way this connected us more, because I had the opportunity, like, to be in Milan in a way with you today. Tomorrow I'll be in Delhi for a webinar with the World University of Design. So it's kind of amazing. It's about finding the balance between the new digital connected era and disconnecting as well, taking a walk in the woods and experiencing nature in its beautiful splendor, and forgetting the screens and the beeps and the notifications and the mails and everything as well. So, and I think it's something that happened during this pandemic in a way. I think more and more people went out as because they had to, because they were locked in, and to appreciate something, sometimes you have to live without it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And so I was then doing design digitally. I mean, you talked about how it was hard to leading your courses and the educational purposes, while the most of the time you had to be sure that your students were safe, that they feel good, that they didn't have so many troubles, and how can they manage this kind of isolation. So also the timing of the activities, the educational activities, of course, change, and not just the platforms, or somehow the platforms might change the timing and the processes. So how was turning digital in that way?
I think the word stressful is one of the best words to describe it, because it also didn't happen. You didn't have the time to prepare. You were like thrown into the water and asked to swim. It was like we closed for a week here, and next week we had to be online. And especially, I think there were some positives and some negatives. I think part of it was we had to spend a lot of our time and effort to formalize and organize many of the things that worked tacitly in the studio. For example, um, we focused a lot in running peer review and having the teams that design review each other's work and make a schedule out of it and organize it, and make the platform do it as well, because it's not just about thinking about it, it's also about making it work. And It's a lot of practical stuff. I think it kind of pushed us to be much more organized, and it's something that it's an improvement and an evolution in our work that will really um, be with us in the future. Also, I think it's about the different modalities of education. Because, for example, in my more theoretical class called Design for Sustainability, I actually had a couple of years ago made videos of all the lectures. So instead of sitting in my room and looking into my camera alone, feeling weird, doing a lecture for 2 hours, I had the capacity to say, um, just go watch the lecture, and on Friday come here and we can discuss, and we can go in depth about it, which was kind of liberating, because I think I got to spend my time in class much more efficiently and effectively. Um, so part of it was very positive. But for example, and I think that's a common experience for all of us, I think it's like, as a teacher, you are not allowed to have a day off, especially, for example, with younger students. So even if, and it's, I think it's part of this experience. There were days during this lockdown that nobody, we've all gone through a certain kind of depression. So, putting on a brave face and going in front of the camera, being, don't worry about anything, everything is okay, everything is under control. Um, it's hard. It's hard, and it's it's beautiful at the same time that we have this capacity, and we just with our words and our being open about it and talking about it, and foster those people that are in a weirder place than we are, being 18, having to face this, it's even harder, I think. So it's hard, and I think it's for me personally, I'd say more of the hardship was the emotional and the the all of those aspects, the uncertainty as well, not knowing, having to go week by week, as we explore and we learn this beautiful, scary, tiny coronavirus that is disrupting everything that we considered certain. But again, it's about I think it's been hard on all of us, and it's kind of it's something that we have to address as well. We have to say it, that it's hard. There are hard days, and I, personally, and I think everybody, I need to thank everybody that supported and raised me during these times. The academic community, my students, my colleagues, my parents, my family. So I think that. I think that it's only going to go upwards. I have no reason to be an optimist other than the fact that that I think that we've all been through this. We can work on it, and this can be a basis of changing the way that we look at each other, and our educational practice as well, but as people as well, as citizens, as humans. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what's next? I mean, during the last year, you and your students focused on specific topics that were able to to stress the specific situation and to transform it in something positive, in something that could become a solution by design. And which are the emerging topics or the most urgent matters that you think we should address for the next phases?
But that's another great hard question. Thank you for putting me on the spot. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm not joking. Also, I'm not trying to steal time. Um, I think that the hard thing about this question is that we are kind of going towards, I think, you can frame it a lot of ways. Pluriverse, a word of many centers. There are so many design projects and so many ideas that are emerging and growing and making themselves heard finally. So I think it's more about creating a platform that we can broaden the base of our interests, because, for example, and it's about each person in a way, because, for example, I would consider decolonizing design a very amazing and interesting part of what's going on, especially with sustainability, looking at the indigenous knowledge that has been lost as modernity kind of made everything the same. Also, I think gender and feminism is another thing that is kind of changing the way that we design, and in a way coming to looking at the explicit and implicit bias that designers embody in what they're making. Like, the book Invisible Women. For me as a man,
Yeah.
I felt so bad because you women have to live in a world designed by men and have to use products that are terrible because they were designed by a man that has no experience of the female experience. So how can I design and empathize something for women? It's hard, and I really have to work hard for it. It's about the environment and stopping the destruction and the climate crisis, because we are in a climate crisis, and we have to change everything. If you think about the Paris Accords and what they talk about and what we have to do as on a practical level, I'm also an engineer, so I have to think practically as well. We have to change the paradigm every 10 years. So I think that there is work to be done for everybody, and I think that I think that for me that's the big change. We have to get the people to work on their passion projects. We have to tell our students as educators that you know saving the world is possible. I hope. If you're interested in saving the world, you can do it, and you can also make a living out of it. It's not just activism. It's actually meaningful employment. And I think on the other side of the coin, that you can exercise choice as a designer. This phrase, I would prefer not to, I think is something that its designers have to practice in front of the mirror every day. Because think about it that way, and I know we're running out of time, so I think it's a great closing statement for me. This
We have
amazing
time, don't
thing,
worry.
it's cool. This amazing thing that we're using right now, the internet, it has connected us. It has kept the loneliness at bay during this time. It has given us this beautiful opportunity to have this amazing, beautiful conversation. And by the way, thanks to everybody who's been participating and all of the people behind the cameras, the support staff, the technology people. This amazing thing connects us. It brings us together. We can be from Milan to Madeira to Greece to Dubai to India to everywhere. And in a way, think about how much this kind of gives a gut punch to xenophobia and racism. It's like, no, we're all people and we're together. And I'm not going to hate anybody because of their characteristics. I can find many reasons to hate people, but I have to meet them first. Um, this same amazing thing has been turned into a hate machine, an outrage machine, a machine that divides us and polarizes us and politicizes things that shouldn't even be politicized. Like wearing a mask made it Trump versus common sense, I guess, in America. So think about it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those outrage machines, though they run on ads and engagement. They are designed to make you angry because that's engaging. And that's some of the best genius designers, our students collectively, that we have failed as educators because we created the creators of this terrible thing as well, because they did not take responsibility. We did not teach them to take responsibility of their actions. They said, yeah, it's okay. Is it about the money? Is it about not caring? Is it about unforeseen consequences? I don't know. I don't think that they did wrong when they did it, but the fact that they keep doing it is terrible, and we have to address it and we have to think about it. So, if we're going to polarize people and make them angry so that we can sell ads, just, yeah, I would prefer not to live in that world, I guess. So, yeah, I would say take responsibility and exercise choice. I think this is kind of the most important aspect. And that's been part of design forever. I mean, Papanek was writing about it in the 60s, and we're still talking about it. So,
definitely. So thank you so much, Spyros. It was really a pleasure to have this chance to talk together.